Welcome to Expedition Networking, a special segment of the Networking RX podcast. I'm Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections, and your host for this program. For those of you who are familiar, on the Networking RX podcast, we share information and have conversations with experts, such as authors, researchers, and social scientists. And all of these programs are aimed at helping you learn how to become better at building professional relationships and understanding why they work. In this Expedition Networking segment, however, we're going to bring on successful entrepreneurs and unique professionals and explore their networking adventure and learn how they used relationships to create lasting success. Today on Expedition Networking, we have Gwendolyn Young. Gwendolyn is the founder and CEO of Your Virtual Admin Expert. It's an administrative operations and project management firm serving overwhelmed professional service providers. Based in Chicago, Illinois, she's been honored as one of the influential women in business by the Daily Herald Business Ledger. Received her Bachelor of Science degree in Business Information Systems from DeVry University and holds a Master's of Organizational Leadership from Lewis University, which I believe is near Chicago, correct?
It is, yes.
Okay. And when she's not running her thriving business, her agency, she loves to spend time with her family. Gwendolyn, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Frank, for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, I know what you're doing now. What I want to do is kind of get at how you got there. I mean, what's the story? You and I have talked before, so I've heard the story, but you were kind of in the corporate world and then it led outside. And I really want to get that story out to people because I think we learn from these. I know we learn from these stories.
Yeah, agreed. So, it's interesting, right? Because I never had a desire to actually be an entrepreneur. I was in corporate America working for a very large healthcare firm here in the Chicagoland area and was super stoked with my job. Like, I loved what I did. And in 2013, I was diagnosed with systemic lupus. And for those of you who may not be familiar with lupus, it's an autoimmune disease that pretty kind of attacks the body. It can't really tell what's good from the bad, and so it just kind of attacks the insides. And so I had to retire from that corporate job that I loved so much because I could not, for the first 4 months, literally could not get out of bed. My husband and kids were literally helping me pretty much do everything from get dressed to taking me to doctor's appointments to fixing food, all of those things. And so throughout the recovery process, I just really did not want to go back. I didn't want to have to choose between taking care of myself and doing the work that I love. And so I just was like, okay, Lord, what am I supposed to do? I'm a believer. And I just was like, how am I supposed to take care of myself and still do something that I love and still contribute to my family and help out financially? And I just clearly heard that, like, it's in your hands. And so I started thinking about all the administrative and operations and project things that I did in the corporate space for like nearly 15 years. And then I began researching to see if it was possible to do these things online. Like, was there a space where people actually did this? And lo and behold, I found that there was this entire industry that was dedicated to doing the thing that I love to do, which was admin work and operations work and project work. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And so I had a choice to make in that moment. And that was either to go back to corporate America and deal with the bureaucracy of, when it came to needing time off, or, with lupus, it's so unpredictable. Like, I could be fine one day and next day I may be completely fatigued. And so I didn't want to deal with having to request time off for doctor's visits and when I wasn't feeling well. Or, I could fight it out with the Social Security Administration and try and prove to them that I was sick and needed all of this support, right? or I could create a business that would give me the opportunity to replace my income and give me the freedom and the flexibility I needed to take care of myself and work with amazing people across the globe. And so I chose number three. And that's kind of how we got here today with the business. And that's kind of how it was born. And I just kind of grew it from there.
Now, how did you go about finding clients?
So initially, I put up a makeshift website that I created myself. Wasn't very pretty, but got the job done. I set up a ton of online profiles on job sites. And then I started telling anybody and everybody that would listen that, hey, I'm in business and here's what I'm doing. And I just started telling people this is what I was doing and asking if they needed support with different types of admin things. And my mother was my first client. She actually paid me as well. And so outside of her, it took a few months. It took about maybe 6 months. And then I got my very first client. And she lived in Florida and I was here in Chicago, and we worked together remotely. And it just kind of grew from there. So that's how the first client came.
And word of mouth kind of took over from that. They get easier, don't they, getting clients?
Yeah, afterwards, yes. And so I just focused on like doing really great work for this first client, and word of mouth just kind of spread. And then this magical thing happened where she was so happy with the work. She actually started to refer some of her colleagues to me, and then they became clients. And so some of her clients became some of my next clients.
Yeah, it just grows. Yeah, I mean, I think people think you get into business and, oh, Gwendolyn's lucky. It worked for her, but it's not. She had it made.
No way, not at all.
You made it. You
I
made
wish
it.
it was that easy.
I know. Well, it's people don't see the cooking, right? They don't.
Yes.
They just see dinner, right? They don't
Yes.
see the cooking, and all the work that goes into,
And the mess that was made in the kitchen.
right?
All the dirty dishes.
Right, and the things that don't work out, they don't see that. They just see the end result, and
Yes,
are envious of that. And it doesn't work that way.
absolutely.
Just some other fun questions, and this is what I'll call a softball, because I know I better know the answer to this. Any causes or charities you strongly believe in?
I think you definitely know the answer to
I
this
do.
one. So Seed of Hope Foundation, absolutely hands down, is one of my favorite charities, because it's one that my mother is the founder of. She and I have this foundation in the community that teaches leadership and life skill development to teen girls across the Chicagoland area. And it is hands down one of my favorites, because it's a place where like I really wish I had when I was a teenage girl growing up. And so it gets all of my support.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great story. What do you do outside of work? I mean, you have a family, but hobbies, interests?
So I don't have any hobbies actually, but I am fast becoming, I think getting into like loving the garden. So I think next year I want to like start growing a garden. But right now, my favorite pastime is hanging out with my 2-year-old grandson. He's a blast.
Oh, I'm sure. One person from history. If you could have lunch, dinner, cup of coffee with one person from history, who might that be?
I think I would have to say my great grandparents.
Okay.
I've never met my great grandparents on either side, on my mom's side or my dad's side.
Okay.
And I would love to just talk with them and just get some history about our family, and just kind of like really just pick their brain and see what was it like raising their kids, and what tips would they have given me before I became a mother and things like that. I would really love to talk to my great grandparents.
Well, I guess that leads into another question. If you could travel back in time and give advice to yourself young Gwendolyn bopping around the halls of high school, what advice would you give Gwendolyn?
Oh my gosh. I would tell her, start thinking about your life now. Like, don't wait until there's this thing about waiting until I get older. But I would really say start thinking about what you want your life to look like and to feel like and to be like, and then go after it now. Like, don't waste any time going for it. And to really understand the value of relationships, because I think that really didn't come for me until I really got into business and really started to see like, oh my gosh, there's like so much value in relationships and community, and you can do so much more and you can be connected to so many more resources. So I would tell her, stop wasting time,
Yeah.
get intentional about your life, and connect to the right people.
Are those some of the things you teach to the young women in Seeds of Hope?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
One of the things that we do that I love with them is we ask them, one of the first workshops is we ask them, what do you want, in your life? And we really have them map it out like in multiple different areas. And so once they tell us, then we challenge them to say, okay, tell me how the decisions you're making right now lead you to that life. And they're all like, whoa. I'm like, yeah, like you can't tell me that you want to be, a pediatrician and work with babies if you're mean to everybody. The two don't align, like they don't go together. And so really challenging them to be more intentional and to really think about what it is that they want.
I think that's great advice, because it's great advice. And I think it's hard for a teenager to kind of really see how these things are all connected.
Yes.
And if you can do that, you have a huge advantage.
Yes. And that's what we tell them. Like, if they get it now, they will be light years ahead of their peers and even some adults, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Because some of us adults are still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, no, totally with you on that. Let's talk about your business. What would be, people are listening, what would be a good referral for you? Describe an opportunity, somebody that, paint a picture for us of, hey, this would be a good client to introduce me to.
Oh, that's a good question. So a good client to introduce us to would be a professional service provider, coach, or consultant who is super frustrated with their back end. Like, they have no order. Their calendars all over the place. They're missing opportunities because they're not responding fast enough, or they're missing out on getting paperwork done, or they don't have a streamlined way to manage their schedule. They are losing money because they don't have a proper invoicing or billing system in place. And they are just like missing out on major opportunities because they're trying to do all of the things in their business. And so if they're super frustrated, if they are tired of not having any time with their family, and if they just want to get out of doing all the things admin, that would be a perfect client for us.
Now, do you log in as them, like on their computers? I mean, I'm not asking you to give secrets away. I'm just very curious as to how that all works. I mean, you manage your social media, things like that?
Yes. So a couple different ways. So for example, if we're managing email for them, typically what I will do, and some of them already have it, is I will have them set up like a support email address and start having all of their emails filter there instead of their own personal inbox.
Gotcha.
And then we manage it from there. And then in terms of social media, what we do is we use a password manager to get all of their passwords so that everything stays safe and secure. And then we can log into their social media accounts that way and manage them that way. And we can do that for a multitude of platforms. So any type of billing and invoicing systems we can do, merchant processings we can do, any CRM systems we can log in that way. And then we also have a project management system that we use to make sure that all the tasks and projects stay on key and get done when they're supposed to. So everything goes into a system, has a task, has a due date, has assigned to who's supposed to be working on it. You can attach files to it. It's an amazing setup operations that we have going on in the virtual world.
Well, I mean, again, get back to what I said before. Most people don't see the cooking, right?
Yes.
I mean, they don't see all of that, and that's why I was curious about it. One last question. This is one of my fun ones to ask. If you won $1 million in the lottery, how would you invest that in your business? No retiring, no paying down debt, no going on vacation, but you had $1 million. I'm going to give you $1 million just to really ramp up this business. And I like asking this question because it allows people to dream and kind of expound on their vision for where they want to take themselves.
Oh, absolutely. So one of the first things that I'm doing is I am going to hire more team members. And I'm going to hire more people who are specialized in like digital advertising, because I see that's a huge need for our professional service providers and people that we serve. So I want like a crazy person who is like fascinated with digital advertising for Facebook ads, Instagram ads, all that good stuff on my team. I'm also going to bring on what we call in the virtual space an online business manager that can work specifically with clients as well, so that I can focus more on growth, bringing on more clients and all of those things. So I'm going to build out the team. I am going to invest in some more software. I know that sounds such like a nerd thing, but that is like.
But that's a great way to save time.
Yes, right? Because I'm all about efficiency. So tools that can help us save time and help us save money and help us do things better, I am all for investing in them. So I'm going to invest in a software package that I kind of have my eye on. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to bring on some more coaches for a mastermind community that I have, so that we can get more women in to teach them how to launch their businesses and to streamline them in a way that's going to help them to grow. So that's where my $1 million is going. It's going to be really on team and resource based.
Oh, that sounds great. Gwendolyn, I really appreciate you taking the time to share with us today.
Thank you for having me. This was so exciting. I had fun.
Before we wrap up, remember, we're looking for some enterprising business types to join our team as franchisees of AmSpirit Business Connections. Our franchisees work with entrepreneurs, sales representatives, and professionals in their area to help them become more successful through networking in a structured, weekly morning meeting. This is a unique franchise opportunity, as successful business types or professionals can add this on to what they're already doing. Again, all of our franchisees do something else. For a couple hours in the morning, only a few days a week, these franchisees work the AmSpirit Business Connections program. The rest of the time, they're entrepreneurs and professionals of various kinds. The great thing is that this allows them to make more money from professional connections and at the same time make money building professional connections. Perhaps you know someone, perhaps you are that someone. Whatever the case, to learn more about the AmSpirit Business Connections franchise opportunity, please contact me using the email in the show notes or the one we provide at the end of the program.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.